What's going on, everyone? My name's Obi and welcome back to Courtside Financial. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button because NIO is very well documented on this channel, and also make sure you hit that like button because it really does go a long way in helping out the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a research report from Ark Invest. I've talked about Ark Invest before on this channel, as Ark K is an ETF that they have that I was dollar cost averaging. But recently I've completely sold out of that position to have some more cash sitting on the sideline. Shout out to Steven from Solving the Money Problem. He talked about this report in relation to Tesla, but I thought it would be a good idea to speak on it from the perspective of a NIO investor. Well, Tasha Keeney, an analyst from Ark Invest, wrote this report in 2017 and it still holds relevance today. Over the summer, CEO of NIO, William Lee, talked about mobility as a service in an interview with EcoMotion, and so did CEO of Mobileye, Amnon Shashua. NIO is well positioned to be a player in this market in the future. According to Ark Invest, the market is positioned to be a $10 trillion market by the early 2030s. So if the market is positioned to be a $10 trillion market by the early 2030s, and NIO and Mobileye are able to get just 5% of that market, that puts them at $500 billion US. Obviously, NIO isn't trying to be like Tesla and build a standalone robotaxi network. They're doing it with Mobileye. So let's be conservative here and say that they're able to get 25% of that $500 billion. Well, that puts NIO at $125 billion in revenue just from their robotaxi network alone. Now, I just want to reiterate that I'm taking conservative estimates in everything I talk about because that's how I like to think about things as an investor. Undershoot, and if they over deliver from my expectations, that's even better. The way I see it is that it's better to do that than to overshoot. But either way, there's clearly a lot of money and opportunity to be made here, and this is just one facet of NIO's business. Yesterday, in response to a short seller thesis, I talked about NIO having a 25% equity stake in a battery asset management company, and according to NIO, battery asset management is a 2 trillion RMB market as well. So that's another thing to think about. So when people try to say that NIO's valuation will never be justified because NIO is selling roughly 5,000 cars a month and they compare it to a company like Daimler that's selling 1 million cars a month, I defer to things outside of just selling cars, because that's not what this is about. In fact, we don't hear any analysts talking about NIO in this manner at all. So when will the marketplace actually price these types of opportunities in? Ark Invest compares the cost of autonomous taxi travel to taxis, Ubers, and the cost of actually owning a car and driving. Their prediction here is that autonomous taxi travel will be way cheaper than any of these other forms of travel. The average cost per mile of travel for taxis being $3.50. Uber is already disrupting this. I mean, how many people do you know that still take taxis? The cost per mile for traveling via Uber is $2.86. The cost per mile for traveling in your personal car is 70 cents. And the autonomous taxi network would be half of that cost at 35 cents per mile, according to Ark Invest prediction. For many people, owning their own car is just not ideal. The cost of ownership is way too expensive, but many people are forced to own them because it's a necessity. In this report, Ark says that autonomous cars should cause a shift away from personally owned vehicles, depressing global auto sales volume in the coming decades. Ark's research shows that auto sales will fall by nearly half in developed markets. In the developing world, auto volumes will likely increase over the long term, but at a rate much slower than expected today. Now, before I even read this report, I touched on this topic in previous videos. The way that I've always viewed this partnership is that it could allow for NIO to sell a ton of vehicles to Mobileye in the future and in turn generate a ton of revenue in the future. I also look at it as a hedge against the traditional auto market. I said that I look at the robotaxi network as a hedge against the traditional auto market. If you can't sell cars, how will you make money as an automaker? Well, if you have a robotaxi network that eventually goes on to become a preferred form of travel, then that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, with that being said, I want to propose a question. Is this something that legacy automakers are working on right now? Is this something that legacy automakers are taking seriously right now? The report also says that China will experience the heaviest impact from car sharing, followed by India and Southeast Asia. Ark expects these markets to experience faster adoption of ride-sharing services than more developed markets for 3 reasons: Large percentages of developing market populations have yet to purchase a personally owned vehicle and in effect have not committed to a mobility option. Developing market populations are more likely to lack access to the upfront capital or financing required to buy a car, and in developing markets the ratio of hourly wages to vehicle prices is low, so a shared ride service is more compelling than owning a vehicle. When CEO of Mobileye, Amnon Shashua, spoke on China, the only name that he mentioned in regards to the robotaxi network partnership was NIO, and the time frame that he gave was 2022 for autonomous taxis without a safety driver. If China is expected to be the biggest market for this and NIO is positioned to be a player in that market, then there has to be a lot of opportunity here, knowing that the Chinese government has a lot of support for NIO already. Another point that Ark made is that only 20% of the population in China has a driver's license, while 70% of the population in the United States has a driver's license. So that only speaks to the importance of mobility as a service and ride sharing in China. How 80% of China's population is going to get around is a serious problem that needs to be solved and deserves some attention. So knowing that, the market opportunity here is huge. I can't touch on everything in this 30-page report, but I can link it down in the description. Another thing that I found interesting here was that another problem that this would solve is the accident rate. According to Ark, accident rates could decline by more than 80%. The US and China have the highest loss from auto deaths by country. Ark says that computers react more quickly than humans as they do not text, drive while drunk, or daydream. As a result, robotic vehicles should be better drivers than their human owners. Ark estimates that autonomous vehicles ultimately will reduce accident rates by over 80%, contributing to a transformational public health gain. Every year, automobiles claim more than 1.2 million lives globally at an economic cost of hundreds of billions of dollars. So there's a reason that the Tesla Model 3 has a 5 out of 5 safety rating, and over time the technologies across the board are only going to improve. So I really hope that this video can help to clear up some pieces of the story that a lot of investors are not thinking about from a long-term perspective when it comes to a company like NIO. That's going to be it for this one. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment down below, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.